Hey guys, Nintendrew here. Like many of you, I've just started my adventures in Night City with Cyberpunk 2077, and I'm having a great time exploring the vast metropolis and working through the campaign. But as I was playing recently, I found myself wondering, how cool would it be if I could take this massive world on the go? Well, here it is. This is the full game, Cyberpunk 2077, running at full speed on my Nintendo Switch with full Joy-Con support. This isn't faked or edited, and it's not just a video clip. This is playable in real time, and outputs at up to 1080p when playing on the TV with the dock. How does it work, and how can you get this kind of setup working yourself? In this video, I'll show you step by step how I managed to get the game running on my Switch, and share some tips for how you can do the same at home. So, let's get to it. Alright, just before we get into things, I don't often do this, but if you're not already subscribed, make sure to hit that subscribe button below to be notified when I post new tutorials and how-to videos like this one. So, when I decided to try and make this happen, to get Cyberpunk running on a Nintendo Switch, I set out to meet a few goals. First and foremost, it had to look and feel good. I wanted to make sure the game was fully playable and provided the same basic experience you'd get on any other platform. Or at least it had to look better than it does on the base Xbox One and PS4. Yikes. Second, it had to have full controller support for both the Joy-Con and Pro controllers. It's not really convenient if you have to use a bunch of different adapters or if the button prompts in-game don't match up to the controller that you're using. And finally, it had to be approachable and affordable for the average Switch user, so I could share my method with all of you and invite you to try it out at home. Now, as a quick disclaimer, obviously this method does involve some modifications that are not endorsed or supported by Nintendo, and any sort of mod does have the potential to brick your system, so please, be very, very careful and only try this sort of thing at your own risk. Personally, I have a completely separate Switch from my main console that I keep around and offline for just this kind of project. So your first thought might be, why don't we just stream the game to the Switch's screen over Wi-Fi from a more powerful desktop PC? I've experimented with streaming from my PC to my Switch in this way before, but I find it tends to be very clunky and not too reliable, with stuttering, resolution issues, and frequent disconnects. On top of that, not everybody has the cash to drop on a top-of-the-line gaming rig, so this wasn't really a good option due to accessibility. Of course, there's no real way to get this game running natively on the Switch without some kind of additional help. We are talking about a next-gen blockbuster title, and a console which is really just an aging 3-year-old tablet. But that's when I realized what could help make Cyberpunk on Switch possible. Android. Let me explain. See, the Switch uses a custom version of NVIDIA's Tegra X1 processor, the same processor used in the Android-based NVIDIA Shield TV box. Without getting too technical, this means that it's possible to get a version of Android working on a hacked Switch. And in July of 2019, a user by the name of Longer Hans on the XDA forums did exactly that. I'll have a link to their tutorial in the description below, as well as some detailed guides for the other steps in this process. If you're already familiar with running custom firmware on the Switch, this should be pretty simple to pull off. All you have to do is write the Android image to your SD card and install a few extra packages. If you've never modded your Switch before at all, I highly recommend you first follow the Nintendo Homebrew Switch Guide to make sure you've got a handle on the whole process. Your Switch will have to be below a certain firmware version number to work, and you will need some additional tools, like an RCM jig and possibly a payload injector. But ultimately, it should cost you no more than $20 or $25 in parts. Like I said, the Homebrew Guide will lead you through every step and show you exactly what you need. Once I was able to install Android on my Switch, it was almost too easy to get Cyberpunk 2077 up and running. Now there are a number of different ways you could do this, but here's how I chose to go about it. Last year, I made a video showcasing my first impressions of Google's new cloud gaming service, Stadia. By offloading the actual processing work to Google's data centers and feeding the video back to your local network, Stadia lets you run the latest titles from pretty much any screen you want to. And because Stadia is a native Android app, all I had to do was download it from the Google Play Store and start playing. With both Joy-Con controllers connected to the Android installation over Bluetooth, the app recognizes them together as a single Xbox controller, which means the button prompts in-game match up to the buttons on the Joy-Con too, with one-to-one controls. The Joy-Con inputs are recognized immediately and without a ton of fiddling around or configuring a bunch of different bindings. In handheld mode, because the Switch screen is only 720p, you can safely turn Stadia down to 720p streaming to increase stability and lower your data usage. But you can also pop it on the dock and grab a Pro controller for the full HD experience as seen here. I was genuinely surprised to find that this way of playing seems very much on par and visually comparable with its console counterparts. Another important thing to note is, this isn't limited to just Cyberpunk. Once you've got game streaming working on your Switch, you can use it for any number of cross-platform titles, and they'll work just as well. Now, it should go without saying, I'm sure Google doesn't officially condone or support this kind of setup, but I do think this project raises the interesting prospect of cloud gaming options for existing Switch owners. With next-gen consoles being nearly impossible to find, services like Google Stadia, Nvidia GeForce Now, and Xbox Cloud Gaming are all offering gamers the ability to try the latest titles without having to invest hundreds of dollars into shiny new hardware. And with a growing community of modders and developers building new homebrew tools for Nintendo's hybrid handheld, these types of services will no doubt continue to become easier and easier to run on the Switch in the years to come. But for what it's worth, the method I've described in this video is already pretty simple to pull off, especially if you have any experience modding your Switch console already. This is why Nintendo doesn't respond to my emails, isn't it? Ah well, whatever. Worth it. Thanks so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this showcase. As always, if you did enjoy the video, please do consider subscribing to Nintendrew for all sorts of cool gaming content, and make sure to share it with any friends who might find it interesting. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Bye!
Hey guys, thanks again for watching and for making it all the way to the end of the video. If you like this one, here are 2 more videos you might like as well. As always, if you like what I do and would like to help out the channel, I've got a link to my Patreon on the right side of your screen. And otherwise, I hope you look forward to the next one. Take care!